Welcome to the Call Center Crew podcast, where we educate, empower, and help you execute in the everyday grind that is contact center. We bring you the expertise and success from industry professionals around the world. Listen in or watch weekly every Wednesday at callcentercrew.com. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Call Center Crew podcast. I'm bringing you John Porter, the founder and president of Focus Services, BPO in Northern Utah. You probably hear me mention a lot Focus Services in a lot of the episodes and a lot of the vlogs that I put out because that's my stomping grounds. That's where I grew up, and that's where I learned all my experience. So I'm excited to bring you this interview to you guys today. But first, if you are listening to this, you can also check out the video version on YouTube and see everything else on callcentercrew.com. So, John, thanks for coming on the show today. I really appreciate it.
Hey, I'm excited to be with you.
John, why don't let's start off. Let's share your background, how you got things started, and then, where we're at today.
Sure. So first, I'm impressed with what you're doing. There's great application in the industry for people always trying to find best practices, and I think this is a great effort. So we've been operating since 1995. I got into the business kind of by accident. I don't know anybody that says, gosh, I want to grow up and be a call center guy. But I had finished my graduate work down at Texas A&M and knew that at some point I wanted to have my own business, but I wasn't sure what to do. So I went to work for completely the opposite for one of the largest corporations in the world. Went to work for DuPont. Had a great experience there. But that desire to have my own business still kept nagging at me. One of my buddies had a very small call center, 24 seats. And when he moved to 48, he asked if I wanted to come down and join him. I didn't anticipate being in this space. I didn't anticipate being with him that long, but I thought, that would be a good learning experience to go and see how somebody runs a small business. So we took it. We moved to Dallas, and just as fate would have it, things didn't turn out the way that he anticipated. He had one client, and that client began to pull away. So after 8 months there, we left, but I had an idea. I had an idea that if we could hire better people, provide better training and development, we could focus on the needs of our clients in a way that other people couldn't, and that we could make a business. We were able to, miraculously actually, able to get a very small survey project with a local bank here, Zions Bank. It's a very large regional bank. And
so at this time, you went from Texas, from Dallas. You're now in Utah.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, moved the family up here the last weekend of March of 1995. Yeah.
Okay.
So we moved up here, and it took a few months to put it together. But anyway, they gave us a project where we called people who had their credit card and weren't using it. We wanted to find out why they weren't using it, did a survey work, and then we gave an incentive to use it. And we started with me. So we only had a list of 800. My very first calls came actually at the local hospital when my youngest son was born. I had that list, and we were sitting there for a couple of days without a lot of involvement from me. So I started dialing these people and made our very first calls and found out, we're going to be able to make this work. So we hired 2 more people. We rented a warehouse just over there behind the Newgate Mall. R.C. Willie has it now. And it was just a warehouse with an office in it. And from there, we just started reaching out to other people who had call centers and picking up their overflow work and just continue to grow. The premise of being able to find good people, providing a constructive environment, giving them development and support, proved to be correct. and that allowed us to provide better performance and offerings to our clients, which has over the years allowed us to grow. So it was 6 months before we could afford a dialer, and so we were manually dialing all that time. And I remember when we got our very first phone bill for $1,800, and I thought, oh my gosh, how are we ever going to pay for that thing? And of course, that was a long time ago. So anyway, that's how we got into the business and how we've grown. We started out at 100% outbound. Vast majority of our work was in sales. Always took the position that if you could sell, you could always find work, which has proven to be true. Mm-hmm. And over the years, we've evolved with the industry, and we're primarily inbound. Still do a large mix of sales, customer service, technical support, back office, variety of things now around the globe. But we started with one phone, one person, and one number, and that's where we started from. So it's been quite an experience.
Excellent. Now, thanks for sharing that. We're going to get into where Focus is at today. Obviously, my the past 9 years that I've spent in and out of the organization, and kind of where it fits into that. Let's talk about a little bit about the challenges that you face. Now, the story that you just told, I mean, it's miraculous, and the kind of the unicorn of one person, one phone, and now it's grown to be over 3,000 people. But obviously, there's some challenges in there. So, talk to us about what were some of the challenges that you faced, whether it be with technology, maybe it's funds, or people, right? What were some of those challenges that you might share with the audience that they might be aware of when starting up a call center specifically, and then just ramping from there?
Sure. I had a mentor that I worked for in between my undergraduate and my graduate degree, who's very successful small businessman. And one of the things he said was, it will take you twice as long, cost twice as much, and be twice as hard as you ever dreamed to build a business. And that was true. So up front, capital is always the problem. We had been able to save some money, and with that, we were able to secure a very small line of credit with Zions Bank. I remember visiting with my banker the first time. He's like, "This is kind of venture money, and we don't do venture here." But we had enough money to put down and had gained enough confidence, I suppose, with him that he was able to put his neck out on the line. I've been forever grateful. So we were able to get that secured, and with that, we were able to work payrolls and work through our timing and all of that, and that worked out fine. But constantly, when you're growing, you're going to be struggling with capital. You're going to be struggling with human talent, human capital, and you're going to be always looking for new technologies and resources. So those are always being stressed and pressured when you're growing. Back in the 90s, in the early 90s when we came up, to be able to have full systems like most companies did, the costs were prohibitive. They were, to have Avaya switches and whatever, they were hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars at that time. Now, you get all that in the cloud, and it's those barriers are gone. So we had to be very creative. We had to, we were constantly looking to find technologies that were adaptable and cheaper, constantly inventing on our own ways to be able to meet those technical requirements without having to put that capital out because we didn't have it. But far and away, the biggest battle is always finding the right people to grow with, finding great leaders, great managers. It's hard to do when you're small and growing because those are, your A-talent people have options and they're getting paid a lot of money elsewhere. So they have to come because they believe in you, they believe in your vision, they believe that there's an opportunity long-term for them. And so we were blessed to have some really great people that came in that were willing to make sacrifices. And we still have several here that are in our leadership positions here now. Others have moved on to other opportunities, but in all cases we have hoped that what they learned here has helped them move forward in their own lives, their own career. But finding human talent, providing them appropriate development, appropriate support, that is always, my experience is always that is the greatest stress on an organization. You can grow as fast as your talent will let you. You can always find money, you can always find technology, but you can't always find great people. So those are the challenges that I think we have faced over and over and over again.
Yeah, no, I think that's great, and so and I can echo that with in my experience in the Philippines, where the Philippines side I think has been up and running for just over 10 years now, and the Focus Direct site there in Bacolod, and that rings true. Even it doesn't matter what country you're in, what industry you're in. I think people as a whole, if you find the like you said, those A-type people, definitely got to hang on to them and make sure you treat them right.
Yeah, that's right. That's the old adage. It's another one that came from my mentor, is that only people make money. You have to have capital. You have to have technology. You have to have resources. That's all true. But I still have to have people to make all of those things come together in the most constructive way. So we've always had at our heart being a people business, and we recognize that really that's what, in our business, that's what clients pay us to do, is to find them good people, to develop those people, to support those people so that they can provide an exceptional product. So people's always at the heart of everything that we do, and that's proven to be the correct approach for us and for our growth.
Excellent. Let's kind of shift gears here. Let's look at how you scaled. You talked starting with one person, one phone, one number, a list of 800. And it's starting in '95. Walk us through the past 20 plus years, and how you scaled. What made you decide to finally say, hey, we're going to open up another center? Obviously, probably you had the work that merited it, but then what made you choose to go to the Philippines, to Central America, and walk us through that timeline and why you made those choices.
Yeah, sure. So there were some philosophical things that we had to come to agreement on early on in the business. We had other leaders here that we tried to be collaborative as a group, make decisions as a group. One of those that I had to make was a decision not to go and find financial partners. We have bootstrapped this on our own. There's been no private equity money, no venture money. It's just been what we could produce on our own. So I'm positive we could have grown faster the other way, but it also introduced risks that we didn't want to have. So it is where we are, and it was the results of a decision. When it came time to making a decision about growth, there's always three things that we looked at. Do we have enough capital to handle this? Do we have the right management team to be able to handle the growth? And do we have a willing client, a viable client? If we had those three things in place, then we were willing to make the investments and to grow. Growth is where your greatest stress is. It's where your greatest risks are because all of your resources are now stretched. So whether those are capital resources or human resources or technical resources, they're all stretched as you grow. And so you need to be very process-oriented to be able to know what those stress points are going to be and make sure that you have built your contingency plans around those. So that's where, in fact, Clearview came from. We every time we grew, so we started off with me. I hired two people, Matt Porter and Randy Berger. They were the first two hires. And then we continued to grow. Within 6 months, we were probably about 25 or 30 people. It was in March of '96 where we got our first dialer. That was 32 seats and cost us $50,000. I thought it was just the I laugh now, but the stress at the time was like, oh my gosh, if I just mortgaged my family and my future. But so when that happened, every time that happens, it's a new stress point, new systems, new policies, new procedures, and for sure new processes. So that's how we became very process oriented. We moved from the warehouse to another site right there behind Newgate Mall. We had at that point 48 seats, and we'd get it running, and we could handle that fine. Then we went to 96, and that would stress us all out because our management team would be stretched.
Mm-hmm.
Then we went to 128, and then we thought, oh, we're going to have to go to get another site. Every time we grew, then the current systems broke. Well, that's how you fix things. Well, one of our philosophies has always been around agent visibility. I can't support and develop an agent if I can't see his or her performance real time. Most people are, certainly historically, have been managing through a rearview mirror, always looking at yesterday's performance that I get first thing this morning to make decisions about what I'll do today.
Mm-hmm.
We recognized that if we were going to outcompete, we had to respond much more quickly. The only way we were going to be able to grow was to perform better, and that meant we had to have better information and better processes that supported our people. And so early on, starting with a piece of paper, calculator, and a pencil, every 30 minutes we calculated everybody's sales per hour manually. Then we moved into a Excel spreadsheet where we inputted every half hour so we could see, because that helped us know who needed help, how we could respond to them rather than wait till the next day to hope it was a better day. We were able to salvage people's days and help them feel successful by the time they went home. Well, then we began to develop our own. We couldn't afford to find any kind of a performance management system. There wasn't much on the market anyway, but we didn't have any money. And so Johanna Jorgensen began to write a program in FoxPro, and we called it X Reports. And that allowed us to see all of our projects real time. Then we got multiple sites in Utah. They were all within 90-minute drive from me. And so I was always on the road going from site to site. And we learned to control that. Then we made purchases of some sites in the Midwest. New stresses, lost my visibility. And that's what created Clearview. So as those projects moved up, then we had international sites. We still had to have visibility. So Clearview is designed to be able to have any C-level leader click down to an agent-level performance within 4 or 5 clicks. And that way you can drill down by site, by project, by region, whatever, into those who had best practices, those who aren't doing well and find out what our plans are to be able to spread those best practices or to correct those things that aren't going well. And so it provided great visibility to everybody. That's where that product came from, because to be able to outperform our competition, we needed better visibility so we could make better decisions.
Yeah. No, I think that's key. Obviously, having the experience with Focus and having seen both sides, right? So when I first came on 9 years ago, I was still very much in probably what was it, the first phase of the X reports,
That's right.
Excel spreadsheets. Still a lot of manual calculating, but then through the years, seeing the first stages of Clearview just internally, and then how it has now since become its own business. Definitely changed how I managed as a director, right? As a site director over in the Philippines. So, that's excellent. Last thing I want to touch on here, John, is how you talked about business starting it up, now scaling and managing. Now you mentioned your stresses not only at work, at life. For those listening who are experiencing all of that, who have family, who have jobs, who have hobbies, who have all this. How did you tie it all together and make it all work with your family, your kids, your hobbies, your work, school? How did you tie it all together?
Great
and
question.
Make it work.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I went to my dad in the early years of business and marriage and say, how do you find balance? Because I just felt out of balance all the time because of the significant demands of building the business. But this is, I think the principles behind here would be applicable to anybody. This is my particular story. So we've been, as a family, I'm married, I have 4 children, very involved in my church community, and then we have had the business. And those really were the 3 things that my activities in my life revolved around. My hobbies became whatever my children were interested in. So I made sure that my wife had time. That's where we started. I had to learn this, by the way. But I read somewhere that for a relationship to be healthy, there needed to be 13 hours a week of uninterrupted time. And I remember the moment I read that, I thought, oh my gosh, I don't give her half of that.
Yeah, and where do you find that time,
I was like,
right?
I just like, oh my, it's not there. So that those moments have to become moments of faith where you say, okay, that's the right thing to do, and I'm going to have to trust the people I'm working with. I'm going to have to trust the purpose and cause of what I'm doing. In this sense, I'm going to have to trust God to be able to support us because I'm trying to do the right things as a husband and a father. And I'm going to rearrange our life. So we did. We made adjustments to where my wife and I would get up early. We'd go walking every morning for an hour. I couldn't take the cell phone, super hard in those days. You always worried that, gosh, system's not up, we're down,
Yep.
The right employees aren't there, whatever, but I had to trust my people, so that was very good. So we got an hour a day there I could guarantee, and then we made sure that Friday nights, Saturday nights we were together, and Sundays we were together. So she got her 13 hours. Every week I focused, we made a plan. This was in large part out of Stephen Covey's 7 Habits approach. But I made a plan every week on what my children's activities and interests were, and then I made sure each of them got time. Almost every night I would read to them stories before we went to bed, and then I would go back and work. But they had my time. They didn't know I was working, they were asleep,
Right.
So they didn't feel that. They had my time, and that allowed me to get to when they got older, to go to their ball games or whatever, but then I worked. So my didn't have maintain a lot of personal hobbies. My interests became what their interests were, which was great because they were my interest. From a spiritual and church perspective, I'm a morning devotional guy. So every morning I spend time exercising, prayer, scripture study. I did that all before they were awake. And I learned if I didn't build it in then while everybody was asleep, it didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
Because they wanted my attention. So those things, you have to decide how important they are to you. And for me, to be able to keep a balanced life, those things became high priorities. And then all the rest of the time, that was work.
Yep.
Right?
Excellent. Well, John, again, I think we can all take a lot of this, both on the business side and on the personal side. I know you and I have talked a lot about that work-life balance, work-family balance, and we appreciate you coming on the show and sharing those insights with us. If people want to get in touch with you on the business side, what's the best place to contact you? LinkedIn?
Sure, you can find me on LinkedIn. You're welcome to email me at john@focusservices.com. So happy to visit with anybody. So, we've been very blessed. We've been able to drive an awful lot of benefit to our employees, to our clients, and also been very involved with humanitarian work to try and bless mankind. And those things have been meaningful to, I think, me and to the team that we work with. So it's been a great ride. So thanks for taking a minute to visit with me, and hopefully there's something useful for the rest of your listeners.
Definitely. Well, thank you very much, guys. If you're listening, you can reach out to us, callcentercrew.com. Find us on YouTube, iTunes, and Google Play. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.